I'm Dr. Preta, and I welcome you to the Shiva Experience program, a program which I co-founded with the Transformative Learning Solutions. In this program, I have decided that I will give to the world, give to all of you, what I have experienced and what I have seen in this particular deity, Shiva. Before the deity Shiva, it has intrigued me why certain ideas have stayed on, why certain ideas are eternal, why certain ideas have lasted millennia. And it is for this reason that I looked into Shiva. Because Shiva, when you look at him historically, he is there in the earliest text. He is there in the earliest depictions. So what? There are 330 million gods and goddesses in India, and they are all there, right from the beginning. But then, over a period of time, as we come down the centuries, they have all faded away into oblivion. They've moved one by one. Varuna, Vayu, Agni, we don't see any traces of them. But Shiva has just gone from strength to strength. And he has survived, as one of the most popular deities in India. It is the very idea of Shiva, which has sustained itself, and what has intrigued me is why has it sustained itself. Maybe it does have certain lasting influences on our life, maybe psychologically very appealing. Maybe it has certain things, the teachings of Shiva have certain eternal principles that can be imparted to us that we can by which we can make our life better. And it is this that I would like to impart to you through this program. And this is what we have looked into a little deeply. When I've looked into this, I've found that Shiva has certain ideas which can be demarcated, which can be made into principles. And these very same principles can be appealing to us to improve our life. And so I brought out these 6 secrets, these 6 principles by which a person can become wholesome, by which a person can feel empowerment, can feel a wholesomeness, can feel what I have chosen to call punatva, a feeling of wholesomeness. And to reach punatva, the 6th principle, there are certain principles that an individual can go through or can experience. For instance, if he can or she can focus something on their lives, they can concentrate on their life completely, like for instance through ekagrata, just one-minded focus. The first principle would be ekagrata. The second principle would be vairagya, completely manage from time to time to detach yourself from your life and recoup and recover your energy that goes away, that dissipates over a period of time. The third would be swabhava. Try to understand what is your inherent nature, your innate characteristics. Think about it and try to hone that and try to see what is good and what is bad and take out the bad and keep what is good and what you have to absolutely live with. The fourth would be saying. Saying now is extremely important because it means balance, it means santulam. Have balance in your life. Through all these methods, you will slowly be reaching, it's almost hierarchical, through ekagrata, through vairagya, you will slowly be coming towards saying. Through understanding your inherent nature, that is swabhava, you will reach saying. Finally, the last, samarasya. Samarasya is something like conjugal relationships between different people. Have harmony with each other. How to have harmony, how to be without conflict in your relationships. So if you do all these 5 things one after the other, you will arrive at the 6th principle. The 6th wonderful principle of wholesomeness, the 6th wonderful principle of punatva, which will make you be a completely empowered person, a person who does not feel fragmented, a person who can deal with all the issues that life will keep throwing up at you. And this is why I decided to help find a program like this called the Shiva Experience. Shiva, a god for many seasons. Shiva, a god from time immemorial. Shiva, a god for 1,000 years, 2,000 years, 3,000 years and more. A god who has won the hearts of millions all over the world. A god who is revered in many, many different forms. a god who is Nana Rupa, many-formed, Shiva. What is so fascinating about Shiva? Why are there so many manifestations of Shiva? Why are there so many worshippers of Shiva? Why are there so many Google searches for Shiva? Millions of them every month. Is it because there are questions that people have in their minds that cannot be answered? And if there are questions, why can't those questions be answered? Because Shiva is a god full of mystery. Shiva has the aura of mystery around him. Shiva is someone who is not so easy to understand, and yet he has survived. He has survived for thousands of years. I mean, just look at the gods in India. You start from the very beginning and you see there were like thousands of gods in the time of the Rig Veda, our earliest text dating back to 1500 years before Christ. So you find that there are like Varuna, Vayu, Ashwins, different gods representing natures, forces of nature. And they're no longer there. Even when you come 1,000 years later, you find no reference to them in the Purans, or if you find very scant evidence of them. But they were very popular in the beginning. There was Shiva just in 2.5 hymns in the Rig Veda. And then suddenly you find over a period of time, it's like he keeps gathering a whole lot of moss. It's like a moving stone. And you find that Shiva is this powerful god associated with some of the main markers of Indian civilization. Just look around you, look around the world, ask people in different parts of the globe, what do you associate with the Indian subcontinent? Somebody will say yoga, Shiva, the Mahayogi. Somebody might say dance, Shiva, the Natraj. Somebody might say, oh, phallicism, worship of the Ling, Shiva is the Ling. Somebody might say hallucinogens that are associated with religion, some of the more darker, mysterious parts. Yes, that is also part of Shiva worship. All the different things that you can associate with India. Asceticism, renunciance. When you think about India, you think in terms of all these men with long hair going about who've renounced the world. Shiva is the Mahayogi. So all the markers, all the things that you can associate India with are associated with Shiva. It seems like he is the beginner of everything that is culturally Indian. And I know this is a very sweeping statement to make, perhaps a generalization, but can you doubt it? I mean, just look at him. So how has he managed to be this kind of persona, this kind of god? What is it in Shiva? And when I started researching him, I found that there were so many things that needed to be answered. There were so many questions that I had in my mind that I myself could not answer, my professors couldn't answer properly. And that's why I went into the study of Shiva. But before that, Shiva, a universal god concept. Shiva, what were his characteristics? It seems to me that all these gods that I talked about, Varun, Vayu, they were there, but they couldn't survive the millennia. The tumble of the Brahmins' worship, the mythographers who went on looking at different gods and seeing what are people associating with, who is resonating with whom. They found that certain gods were not worthy enough and they were discarded. But Shiva, it seems there was a god concept in Shiva that he survived. He was so malleable, not just malleable, but he had certain characteristics which appealed to people in 1500 BC and in 2012. And it seems it will go on forever. So what are these characteristics? What are these ideas which are so old, which have managed to survive? And why is it that he sustained the interest of everybody? Surely there must be some very, very, very fundamental features within Shiva's persona that have made him survive to this day. And that is what I want to talk about. That is what I want to explicate, because we don't find that the answers are very easily and readily available. When we look at the scriptures, there's a lot of philosophy. And sure, the philosophy is also very interesting, but sometimes the real meanings are hedged in a whole lot of lush overgrowth of all kinds of philosophy, rituals, which can't be easily looked at. So I want to bring those forward. I want to talk about them, and I want to see the essence of Shiva. What is there in Shiva? My fascination for Shiva goes back a long way. It was a time when I was actually not academically inclined and just sort of like walked into a postgraduate degree. I went in sort of like saying, okay, I'll do a post-graduation and then I'll go on with what my first loves were, which were pretty glamour struck. I was really glamour struck. I used to do some modeling in college, and I had a degree in dance. So that's what I wanted. That was the world I wanted to go into. And still keeping that in mind, I had this paper in MA, in my post-graduation, in which I studied Shiva, the beginning of Shiva, and I got completely hooked. While I was hooked, I did my own research. I asked the professors various questions about Shiva. Why is he worshipped in his linga form? Why is he associated with dance? And very often I wouldn't get answers that would satisfy me. Let me put it like that. So then I decided that, okay, now that I finished my MA, let me go on to do further research and I'll find my own answers. So after some years, a PhD followed. After some years, I got my teaching career started in a good college in Delhi University. And I started writing about Shiva. My first book did exceedingly well. It became the compulsory reading for MA students in Delhi University. But still I felt that it was very dry. It was just research which was connected with inscriptions and Purans and sources and sculpture, which was very important, but still I felt there was something that was missing in that research. So I further went on and wrote a book which is like a biography of Shiva, and that did very well. Penguin brought that out, and they in fact asked me to write a biography of Shiva, so I went ahead and did that. And a lot of what I felt about Shiva came out in that book. But still, there was something that was missing. And what was missing was the book was not reaching enough people. And that's when I decided that I should go into this kind of work, where I can reach thousands of people who can hear all over the world what I feel about Shiva. Because I definitely feel that there is something very, very special about Shiva. Not just about Shiva, but his philosophy. Not just about his philosophy, but the teachings. Not just the teachings, but all the mantras. Not just the mantras, but everything connected to Shiva. And I thought I'd bring it across in a simpler manner, without leaving out the nuances, so that everybody could enjoy him the way I did. What I feel is the essence of Shiva, is this wonderful autonomy that one senses with it. You look at Shiva, he is this god who does whatever he wants to. If he wants to wear a tiger skin, he continues to wear a tiger skin. We see him in the earliest text where he's wearing a tiger skin. To this day, if you see sculptures, nothing has changed. He still has his tiger skin. He still has his hair matted. He still carries the trishul, the old weapon. So he's come in many ways unchanged. And yet there are things which have changed. And that's what I mean about malleability of Shiva. We find in the earliest texts in the Rig Veda, he's just this fierce god, who's a really angry god, associated with thunder, with lightning, with a